Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, February 24th, 2021, for our monthly public meeting at Los Angeles NORML. Today, we have another great program of education lined up for you. We're going to start off with a history of cannabis reform, led by our Director of Government Affairs, Hirsch Jane. Then, our Director of Social Equity, Luis Rivera, will be providing an update on the social equity program here in Los Angeles. Our Director of Strategy and Development, Calvin Harris, will then lead an engaging discussion with our special guest, Larry Smith, the CEO of GFive Cultivation. GFive Cultivation is a family-owned and operated lifestyle brand that specializes in providing a premium grade of cannabis grown in an ethical manner to the market. GFive remains committed to elevating the community through numerous give-back initiatives such as signature events, global partnerships, and charitable efforts. But before we get started with the educational portion of our program today, I'd like to recognize the team here at Los Angeles NORML that is responsible for everything that we do. I'd also like to remind you that Los Angeles NORML is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization. So it's important to remember that these people are all volunteering their time to push forward with much-needed reform to our cannabis laws here in Los Angeles, California, and at the national level. They are here volunteering their time for our community, and so we would really appreciate you supporting us back. Our team consists of the legendary Bruce Margolin, who founded Los Angeles NORML in 1973, and he is our Director Emeritus. Elizabeth Mack, RN, is our Director of Health and Wellness. Hirsch Jane is our Director of Government Affairs. Stephanie Uwe is our Deputy Director of Government Affairs. Brett Mackomer is our Director of Technology. Nicholas Costelli is our Director of Communications. Eric Gopel is our Director of Veterans Affairs. Dr. Swathi Varanasi is our Director of Medicine. Luis Rivera is our Director of Social Equity. Maha Huck is our Director of Education. Calvin Harris is our Director of Strategy and Development. And my name is Ian Rassman, and I'm the Executive Director here at Los Angeles NORML, and your truly very grateful host for today. So to kick off our exciting program today, I'd like to introduce you to Hirsch Jane, our Director of Government Affairs, who's going to provide us with a very informative history of cannabis reform. Hirsch, thank you so much for preparing this information for us today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ian. It's great to be with everyone today, and I'm excited to walk you through in about 5 minutes a history of cannabis reform. And I think the lesson that we'll take away from this is really how far we've come in sort of the fight for cannabis reform. Where we'll start is June of 1971. So on June 18th, 1971, then President Richard Nixon declared drugs to be public enemy number one. And that, shortly thereafter, that's where the term war on drugs came from. The media started popularizing that term shortly after Nixon declared a war on drugs. And as many of us know, Nixon knew at the time that many of these drugs, particularly cannabis, weren't harmful, but was just looking for an effective way to distract from his failures in the Vietnam War, and saw cannabis as a way of scapegoating at the same time people of color and the anti-war movement. So drugs were a very convenient vehicle for him to demonize his enemies. So in June of 1971, Nixon declared a war on drugs. I think it's interesting that we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of that declaration here in just a few months. And this was around the same time that NORML was founded to defend the rights of cannabis consumers. So Nixon declared the war on drugs, but it really ramped up under Ronald Reagan. I think, if we can see Nixon as the person that declared the war on drugs, Ronald Reagan is really the person that fought the war on drugs. So throughout the 1980s, we saw a real militarization of law enforcement in order to stamp out nonviolent drug crimes. And a lot of the things that we take as normal today were instituted under Reagan. So for example, until 1986, we didn't really used to drug test for jobs in this country. That just wasn't a thing. But then Reagan really pushed the idea that we should have drug-free workplaces. And we started drug testing people for jobs, which disproportionately today and then impacts people of color and prevents them from getting many employment opportunities. I think another good example of this is 280E, right? In the industry, we often talk about 280E, and many people assume that the provision of the tax code preventing people from taking tax deductions was always there, but it was actually only passed in 1986 by Reagan. And so I would say more than even Nixon, Ronald Reagan was really responsible for ramping up the war on drugs. But this was a bipartisan affair. When Bill Clinton was in office, he also prosecuted drug crimes very, very vigorously. So we see this both amongst Republicans and Democrats. And, when Clinton's in office, we start to see a little bit of a split. So in 1991, right before Clinton takes office, San Francisco passed Measure P. Measure P was a non-binding measure that declared cannabis to have medical utility and declared medical cannabis legal. So that passes in 1991. And I think a lot of progressive activists will expect Bill Clinton to be more progressive on this issue, but really he's not. He just continues the policies of Nixon and Reagan. And so that leads Dennis Peron in 1996 to gather signatures for Prop 215. This was the statewide initiative that legalized the use of medical cannabis in the state of California. And that, I think, is really one of the landmark events in the history of cannabis reform, when California, the biggest state in the country, legalized cannabis for medical purposes. Then over the next decade, you basically see a lot of different states following California's lead, right? Legalizing cannabis for medical purpose. So you see a couple dozen states passing some medical cannabis measure over the next 13 or 14 years, which again is more progress. And in 2010, we see another landmark event, one that I think gets kind of underappreciated. In 2010, there was a statewide ballot initiative, Prop 47, that would have legalized cannabis for adults in California. And that narrowly failed. It got about 47% of the vote, and every statewide, elected official was against it. Even elected officials that now, present themselves as champions of cannabis were against it. A good example being Kamala Harris, right, who's now the sponsor of the MORE Act, but when she was running for Attorney General in 2010, she was staunchly against this measure. But I think what's significant about that is that was the first time in American history that cannabis use for adults was put sort of on the ballot, and it narrowly failed. After 2010, we see more progress. 2012, again, a very landmark event where Washington and Colorado legalized the use of cannabis for adults. And then what we've seen basically in the past decade is every 2 years, like something really, really big happens in terms of moving the ball forward, particularly during presidential elections. So in 2012, Washington and Colorado are pioneers legalizing cannabis for adults. In 2014, a couple more states follow them, Oregon and Alaska. And then in 2016, a presidential election year, we see a very consequential vote where California, the biggest state in the country, decides to legalize cannabis for adults, but also states like Massachusetts and Nevada and Maine sort of jump on board. In 2018, we see Michigan legalize the use of cannabis for adults. And then in 2020, again, we see a very consequential presidential election. And what's consequential is 4 states legalized cannabis for adults. So that's Arizona, New Jersey, Montana, and South Dakota. But really the interesting thing is 2 of those states are very red states, South Dakota and Montana. And you also see Mississippi legalize cannabis for medical purposes with 70% of the vote. And, just to double click on Mississippi real quick, what's amazing is that every statewide elected official in Mississippi came out against the medical cannabis measure. The Department of Health and a whole bunch of doctors groups did as well, but still 70% of Mississippi residents voted for medical cannabis. So I think that really illustrates how citizens and their elected officials are really on different pages about this issue and how politicians have yet to catch up to the people. Last thing I'll say, and then I'm all done, is that, in 2021, what's really exciting is there's so many states that could legalize cannabis this year. New York could legalize cannabis within the next month. Virginia, which no one thought was going to legalize cannabis even 3 months ago, now appears to be on the verge of passing a cannabis bill. Connecticut is talking about it. Rhode Island, Pennsylvania is talking about it as well. New Mexico, Delaware. These are all states that border other states that have recently legalized cannabis, some of them bordering multiple states, and they're tired of seeing their tax revenue go to other states. So I think 2021 is going to be very exciting. 2022 is also going to be very exciting. We're going to see a number of ballot initiatives. I think maybe the most consequential one is we'll see a statewide ballot initiative in Florida. Florida has a very robust medical market there, so that's exciting. And maybe the last thing I'll say is my prediction, or what I believe to be true, is, in recent presidential elections, we've seen a huge step forward on cannabis. I think the final nail in the coffin is going to be the 2024 election. I know that's a far ways out, and there's already talk, in the Senate about legalizing cannabis before then. I think these things will take more time than that, but I think 2024 will finally be the year where cannabis is legal everywhere across the country. So that's all I got. Thank you so much for your time.
Fantastic, Hirsch. Thank you so much. I always love getting your updates, and you had some great examples in there. Yeah, great about Mississippi for sure. Now I'd like to introduce everybody to Luis Rivera, who is our Director of Social Equity, and he's going to be providing some updates for us on what's going on here in Los Angeles. Luis.
Hello, Ian, and thank you, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. My name is Luis Rivera, as Ian said, Director of Social Equity here in Los Angeles, NORML, as well as Social Equity LA. See if you can make me the host. Am I able to share my screen? Great. Okay, so we have some quick updates for you guys here. Can you guys see my screen? Good to go?
Good to go.
Okay, great. So first of all, sorry, once again, Social Equity LA, we are a nonprofit organization that's here to support individuals looking to get into the cannabis industry, as well as different economies that are coming online. In general, we're really out to provide public policy support, business development, and workforce development as well. Also, I want to thank everybody and honor Black History Month and all the people that struggled and paved the way for all of us to even be here. So thank you, and for that. Last month, the city, December, check again, February 4th, the city had their commission meeting. They provided a lot of updates. So I'm going to just do my best to give you 5 highlights of the meeting, and you guys could access the information on the DCR website under their commission meeting. So first and foremost, the city has implemented 3 phases of licensing in the last few years. Currently, at this moment, they have 850 applications as of this meeting. Earlier in the year, 375 of them are in the pre-app. Some of them are going through modification requests, and then there's 50 public convenience and necessity, which is also a way of getting licenses through a public convenience council process. Last round was phase 2. A few years ago, those people are still getting their licenses up and running. So some of them are going through changes, getting their annual, getting their finals inspection still. So the city has said that anyone that has not received that approval by the end of this September will have their application abandoned. For those of you guys that participated in the retail round last year, the city authorized 200 individuals to move forward for a type 10 retail license. 30 of those have been invoiced, have received a notice of local compliance underway, which means that they've been turned in enough documents as part of the temporary approval to get the state application in parallel underway so that they can get up and running soon. So hopefully we'll have at least 30 and soon 200 more retail shops legal here in Los Angeles. Last 2 points is the city is putting some money in the hands of equity applicants, through different programs. Specifically, they will have a grant program and a fee deferral program that they're building out with some of the funds they got from the Social Equity California Equity Grant. Lastly, those of you that want to know when can you get in, when can I get in, the next round is phase 3, round 2. There will be a lottery going on for approximately 150 retail licenses that's limited to only verified social equity applicants that are currently verified, but also the city will open up another round of verification so people that aren't verified could get in that lottery. With that, I encourage you to do some more research. Please go online, and like I said, and you can get more information on that committee meeting. Lastly, we have a virtual summit coming up and job fair. So we invite you all to log on this Saturday, the 27th, on socialequityla.org. You can also get tickets on Eventai, and we'll be able to provide more information. We have a wonderful lineup of speakers. These are some of the topics that we'll be discussing, as well as some links to some jobs and resources. Lastly, we had a social equity summit last year, and there's a quick 2-minute video on the event.
I want to welcome you to the first annual Social Justice Summit and Job Fair here at beautiful Los Angeles Trade Tech College in South LA. I want to thank God for being here today. I want to thank our sponsors, the Drug Policy Alliance, CRCD, LA Trade Tech Workforce Center in the house, and Trade Tech College itself. And more importantly, I want to thank you guys for being here today and caring about yourself and believing in yourself, because today is about you and making sure you're connected with the resources. I worked in a basement of a church called St. John's Well Child and Family Center, and that's where I truly saw my passion and realized that people out there, no matter how bad we're struggling, there's always someone there that we can help and be of service to. Today we're here, we're providing workshops. We have an amazing lineup of panelists and leaders in the industry. We have resource booths for you guys to check out and get connected to different jobs and programs, as well as in the former Redwood building. We have a workshop going on by CRCD and where the programs are and how you can get back into the workforce, those that are in the re-entry and formerly incarcerated.
So with that, I won't keep going on, but I truly appreciate the time, Ian, and please join us next week or this Saturday. Thank you. You're on mute.
Thank you. That was a great job fair that you guys did last year, Louis, and I'm really looking forward to the event again this Saturday. So absolutely, everybody, please do go check that out. Louis, thank you so much for attending the DCR meetings on a regular basis and bringing back that summary for us. Greatly appreciated. And again, if anybody has any questions or wants to see those details again, you can always go to the Department of Cannabis Regulations website, and they always have their updates there. So now I would like to introduce you all to Calvin Harris, who is our Director of Strategy and Development, and he's going to be introducing you to our guest speaker today. So Calvin, come on in. And unmute.
Thank you, Ian. I appreciate the introduction. I'm excited about our guest today, Larry Smith. Thank you for coming on. Larry, by way of GFive Cultivation, is a visionary, dreamer, and doer. Larry Smith is breaking the barriers for the status quo. With more than 20 years in business enterprise, Larry's committed to empowering young men and women within his community to tap into entrepreneurship and build their own wealth, which is great. I love that. I'm in the same vein myself. Larry's strong business sense and leadership qualities have led him to become a successful capital investor and entrepreneur. He's currently Chief Executive Officer of GFive Cultivation, the first ever African-American licensed medical retail cannabis cultivation farm in Clark County, Nevada. With the steady emergence of the cannabis industry, Larry is also heavily involved in the legislative process on the legislation and development of marijuana laws in Nevada as well. Pink Mink is a brand by Cameron, the rapper, actor, entertainer, and Larry is the home to Pink Mink. He's the first cultivator of the brand. Larry, welcome. I appreciate you coming on. Nice to see you.
What's up, man? Nice to see you as well. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be a part of Las Vegas NORML. It's pretty dope, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. So tell me a little bit about what started GFive Cultivation for you. Like, what year did you begin? What made you get into it? And also, if you want to lean in, I also want to know what it's like doing business with Cameron, like as a businessman. Like, what made this connection and collaboration come together?
Well, that's pretty dope, because you just named off a couple of things that Cameron does: rapper, actor, entertainer, whatever you. But more, the Cameron that I know is a really good businessman, and that's what was really intriguing to me about Cam. Obviously, he's a hip hop legend in my eyes. And just a dope overall person. He does good, clean, honorable Harlem business. And that's what was intriguing. I started the cultivation an associate of mine, basically, I was actually in New York. I was trying to pitch 50 Cent to get 50 to come and start doing fights in Vegas. He had a boxing, SMS boxing, and him and Floyd were kind of going at it at the time. And I had a good friend at Caesars who was like, if you know him, we'd love to get 50 in on the boxing. And I went and spoke to 50 via Jack Biller, and 50 just didn't understand. He thought he had to put up the money. And I'm like, nah, come on. And so I'm there and I'm in New York. I'm really trying to get 50 to get boxing to Caesar's Palace and kind of get it back from MGM. And a friend called and said, hey, man, they're going to start the medical marijuana program. And I was like, well, why are you calling me? Like, yo, the feds, they don't like cannabis, and I like my freedom. And so I said, you know what? When I get back from New York, let me sit down with some people and talk to some people and go from there. So I came home. My other business, I have a factoring company where we purchase medical liens, and we deal with a lot of doctors and attorneys. And so I went to two of the attorneys that I deal with that are very well respected in the state of Nevada. And they were getting in. And I was like, if these two guys are getting in, then there must be something here. And so I've always, been around cannabis in my neighborhood that I grew up in. I've never seen, harm anybody. So I was like, all right, because I'm real particular about what I want to associate myself with. So I then took the time and I started going to the Bay Area, Colorado. And the first thing I did, I wanted to talk to patients. I wanted to really understand the patient side of it. And I went there, started talking to patients. Then I went and started talking to business owners. I talked to a lot of people who were doing very well. But what I did differently too was I started talking to people who had failed. So I would look up the people who weren't in business anymore and start reaching out to them and contacting them and trying to figure out why they failed and the reasons why. Because everyone makes it seem like it's a very glamorous and it's a lot of money. And don't get me wrong, there's money to be made here, but it's not easy, especially on the cultivation side. I mean, we're growing medicine that takes a while to cultivate, and you have to really cultivate this with love and affection. And I'm learning that firsthand,
Definitely. I know how much you care about the plant. I know we had a few conversations about music and how the plant is affected by its environment. Yeah. And I know that's something you're definitely into. I know you mentioned in this last response that Colorado, Oregon, different states might be involved as well. You're thinking about expansion with the company?
Well, so what I did was with GFive Cultivation, I've had to fund this pretty much myself, and I have investors that have come on and helped me out, and they're part of it. But it's been a burden, when you have, millions of dollars, and by us not having banking, that really hurts. And I have a good circle, but I don't have a hedge fund to go out and get $500 million, or so I'm kind of really doing it from the dirt. I wish I had, because we could expand. We could have expanded a lot faster, but those opportunities are coming now. And we're starting to do it. Cam and I started Pink Mink, which is a company East-West that we run. And we've already started the expansion of that and putting East-West, going to growers in California, the strains, Western Green Mamba Labs in LA, and partnering up with Brandon and getting those things done, going to Oregon and Capital Cannabis and working with those guys and bringing Pink Mink, finding the correct growers, not just because what we want people to understand is, Cam is really big on medicine, and it's not, he doesn't want to be rapper weed. He just doesn't want to be rapper weed. He wants you, we're going to tell some stories later on that people understand why, it's very important for him and myself. We don't want to be rapper weed. We want to let people know that this is medicine for us, and it's a way to heal, and it's a way to help heal people and get people in a good space all the way around the board. So we definitely
appreciate that. The health benefits are very important. One thing people might not know about Cameron, if you look at the Killer Season album, he has a song called IBS, where he has stomach issues, he has health issues. So actually, marijuana can be very, very healing and very therapeutic.
And that's what I was leading to, is that Cam does have IBS, and he lets it be known, and it does help him with his IBS. And it's, what I've learned is that I can't sit on here and act like I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but what I can say is that I do know that cannabis does take someone's level of pain. I mean, I've had people contact me, go, man, listen, I have lupus or I have IBS, so my level of pain is a 8, 9, and 10. And then if I smoke pink mink, or I smoke big baby bud, or man, listen, my level of tolerance goes down and I'm able to have a better quality of life. So now my pain is a 2 and I can go on through my day. And that's the real win for me. I mean, financially, listen, we all want to make money, but when you have clients that call and tell you that, hey man, this is what I'm going through. Nobody really knows I have lupus, or, I've had cancer patients that have come to me, and the pink mink has a really high quality. I forgot that I was told you I was gonna get to earlier, but it's really good for cancer, and it really helps with the cancer. My landlord who helped me build on the land that I have, he passed away from cancer, but man, we got him on the pink mink, and there were days that it would be tough, and we finally got him on pink mink, and it became. He's back out there riding on his golf cart, and doing things, and he's like, yo, and he was totally against cannabis. And that was good. That was really nice to see that we felt like we extended someone's life and gave them a better quality of life on the way out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm glad you touched on that. My friend actually, rest in peace to Josh Ackerman. He passed away January 4th from cancer. Edibles and he was using a pen. That was helping, like you said, the quality of life. Although it was cut short, it did help a lot. And you mentioned Western Green Mamba Labs, and shout to Brandon and Western Green Mamba. They're out. They work with Pink Mink as well here in LA. Yeah. We have a compassionate care program I'm going to tell you about, because we can actually help with ailments and people that might need the medicine for specific reasons. One question I have, because I want to go a little bit into the background. We talk about canned music. Cars, I know, is a big thing of yours. You did get a chance to show me some of your old school collectibles. Talk about how music, culture, fashion, like how cannabis, how that kind of mixes together like in one big pot. Like I think it's a big portion of the business, the marketing and the other aspects of cannabis, how they fit together. Like, you want to talk about that? Because I know you're really deep into all those aspects.
Music and cannabis clearly go together. I mean,
Right.
It's just that relationship with the rappers in the studio smoking, and you go to concerts and people are. I remember going to a Rick James concert as a kid, and the music, and Rick James had a joint that was probably as long as my arm, and it was past the joint. I was a kid, man. I was a kid. Like, I remember that, and that was something that was like incredible to me, and the whole crowd lit up. I was in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'll never forget that as a child, like how iconic that was for me. And so I've always thought music, and obviously cars and music go together as well with the cannabis. Obviously, we don't promote anyone drinking and smoking and doing that, but it's an old school vibe for us. I have a 62 Impala convertible, nice, clean. I have a 64 Impala, and then I just got my son, who just became a firefighter, a Clark County firefighter here in Las Vegas. We're building him out another 64 Impala. So we feel like it's a part of the culture, and that's what GFive is, we want to be some will say we're hood or we're this and that, but listen, we conduct business on a very high level, and but we want to represent who we are. It's a lifestyle for us. So it's nothing for me to hop in my car on a Sunday afternoon, go to the park, chill, smoke a little bit, and chill out and have that top back and blow a little bit. So I mean, and like I said, we don't promote drinking or smoking and driving at all. I know that's a big thing that's about to come through with the regulations, and another way for the system to hold people of color, Black and brown, down. And it's unfortunate, but this is what we like, man. We love our cars. Smoking is a great conversation. If I can tell a quick story about how cannabis, to me, really does relate in all of those things. I went to Denver for a cannabis cup, and since right now the race relations in America is really, really tough. They'll make you think that we all hate each other, and we have these preconceived notions about each other. But I went to the cannabis cup. We're jamming out, listening to the music. The cars are out there. Everyone's having a good time. We're talking about lowriders, and that's what made me think of the story. And I'm sitting there and I see these two white guys, and these two white guys had they look like the skinheads to me, right? And in my mind, I didn't say anything to them in my mind. I go, you know what, man? I bet you they're in the KKK. I bet you they're in the KKK. I just had the feeling, right? So I'm looking at these guys and walking around. Before I know it, we stop at a smoke station where you can roll up and re-roll up and blaze and do whatever. And sure enough, I'm sitting there rolled up, and the guy comes right next to me. And he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, how you doing? I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Right. And then all of a sudden I go, where are you from? He goes, Indiana. And I'm like, oh no, Indiana. And he's rolling up and he's talking to me and he goes, I'm here with my father. Man, this cannabis is so great. And as he's rolling up, he hands me the blunt. He goes, you spark it first. And I just thought that was dope. How cannabis brings people together. And I literally told him, I go, man, I need to apologize to you. He's like, why would you? I said, man, I already put in my mind that you were a certain way. And the cannabis just really embarrassed me right now because you handed me your cannabis joint. I was so embarrassed because I never really think that way. But the way the world is going, you know, you tend to do that. But this plan has taught me so much and embarrassed me and let me know the humility and how to be humble and treat people with respect and dignity, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know if people are smoking cannabis because it gives them they have PTSD and they need it to calm down. It relaxes them. So it's been very humbling for me. It's a very humbling experience to be a part of this. And I'm, like the guy said before, man, the people that come before me, man, I'm truly humbled that that they paved the way for us to be able to provide for our families and whatnot. So I just want to get that story in real quick. I thought that was important when you said the music and the cars. It just brought me back to that,
Yeah, nah, definitely. I appreciate that story right there. I was all in it. And yeah, I definitely want to give a shout out to the people that paved the way for us. It is Black History Month. Lewis did touch on social equity and what's going on there. I want you to plug some business for yourself. Name some places locally, maybe some dispensaries you work at where your products are in.
So we are currently in we're in Reef in Las Vegas is one of our biggest suppliers. Deep Roots is a big supplier. There's a lady that I got to give a shout out to, Cannabis, which it just opened up in Las Vegas on Las Vegas Boulevard on the Strip. They're female. It's her and her wife, and they just opened up. And I give them credit because, man, they've been in this for a long time, and they really promote the medical. We're in Jardine in Las Vegas, Silver Sage Wellness. So we have a couple of places, MMJ America. So we're there, man. It's been kind of tough because we've been selling out so fast, man. The cannabis is getting better for us. We have better growers and we're getting better genetics, and we're understanding the process so we can bring better medicine to the market. I never look at it as recreational. I know everyone looks at it that way, but it's always medicine to me. So I just hope that we can continue to excel and bring really good medicine to the community.
Definitely. I appreciate you shouting out those companies that are partnering with you out there.
Yeah,
I want to leave. I want to leave a little space for some questions for the rest of the board members, but I do have a couple of questions for you before you go. Now, the Pink Mink strain, in terms of expansion and in terms of Cameron, is there any music going to be involved with that? Because I know you guys have a stage at the GFive facility. I know you guys can put on concerts. I know it can be a big deal. Maybe we even need to do a NORML event there. I don't know. But tell me about what you might have in the future, because I know concerts will be back soon. I know events will be back soon. And I know that's something that you guys specialize in.
Yeah, that's something that we've always done at GFive. My first party for GFive, I brought the Dog Pound, Noriega and Capone and Nori. I brought Drew Hill. I didn't charge a dime. I just wanted people to come out and have a really good time. And then the next one I brought Cam out with Dipset, him and Jim Jones. And that
I was at that one. I went to that.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. Like, and we didn't charge anything. We're trying to build that up, and we definitely want to do stuff in the future with that. We want to do a lot of comedy because once again, comedy is in that genre as well, where we're doing. I mean, comedy is cannabis. You want to laugh and giggle, so we want to start coming with tokes and jokes pretty soon. You know what I'm saying? But no, music is on the way. I've been talking to Cam about doing some projects. Some Pink Mink projects with GFive to do like some mixtapes and whatnot, because it is a part of the culture. I mean, there's a lot of smoking songs out there and a lot of people that partake. But yeah, no, we definitely got some stuff. I would love to do something with NORML on that level.
Okay, because I already had an idea, and I'm sure the crew, the team would be okay with it. But I think we could put a couple of events on, and we'll be strategic and figure it out. But I think it could be fun. And
our goal, we started doing right before the pandemic. We started doing karaoke. We don't have any any bars yet here in Vegas where we can actually go, and they're pretty strict, and especially with the new cannabis compliance board here in Vegas, they're really strict on us. So I have to be really careful of how we do it. But what we started doing was we were building up to, before the pandemic, we were doing karaoke, like smoke karaoke, where we would come in, have people do karaoke, and then we would basically pick a winner on 420, have a big concert like that, and then go. But then COVID hit, so we're working towards getting everything on. And if you came to those shows, everyone was jam packed, man. Everybody thinks they can sing, right? It's kind of hilarious because you do find people that really can sing, and you find people that can't sing, and it makes the night all that much more fun to have people go up and do that. So it's a pretty interesting time. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, that's gonna be great, man. I'm gonna definitely come out and check you when you have those. I just want to say, man, I really appreciate you. Kim is a personal friend of mine. I know that having his own brand, like in the legal cannabis space, years later, Purple Haze 1 and 2, 15 years worth of albums talking about cannabis, legalizing the plant. I work in reggae music as well. So this is like, it touches home. We love you. You know what I'm saying? We love what you're doing. I just want to open up the floor to any of the board members that might have some questions as well. Ian, Hirsch, anybody, if you guys want to chime in. Lewis, I know you had a couple of social equity questions maybe for the month. Larry, is there anything you want to say before we go into any question and ask section?
No, man, I just want to say thank you guys, man. I appreciate all the work that you guys do. I see a lot what's going on, man, and it's people like you guys that really keep the culture moving forward. And people probably don't tell you guys enough, but we really do appreciate it, the work that's going on. I want to just give a shout out to one person, Aisha Goins. I don't know if she's on. She might not be, but there's a group here in Vegas that they really do. They kick ass, and the NORML for Las Vegas does a really, really great job of trying to educate people, and it's important work, very, very important, and big respect to you guys, man. You guys have no idea. Big respect.
Appreciate you, Larry. Ian, do you want to open the floor up for some questions that somebody else might have? Because I noticed some subjects we might want to go over, Larry, while we got him on the show.
There we go. Thank you. Larry, thank you so much. We're just so honored to have you here today. Thank you so much for that. That was really informative. And I have to tell you, it really struck me when you mentioned how people call you up and tell you how the medicine has changed them. That's powerful. To hear that from your patients and your customers, it's just got to be the best feeling ever.
Oh, no, listen, it's an awesome feeling. It really is an awesome feeling to have someone go, hey, man, I have PTSD, and man, it calms me down. Or I've had a young lady who called me and said, hey, listen, I have lupus. I didn't know if you knew or not. And she's like, some days are really, really bad, but when I smoke, and she gave me 2 strain names, and she was like, man, I can function, and I'm like, man, that just makes me feel really, really good to know that, everyone thinks it's about the money, and money comes and goes. It's not mine. It's just passing through, but when you have those conversations, those kind of stay with you forever, because we don't know what people go through on a daily basis, and it's tough, and a lot of people are private. They don't want you to know. So when they do tell us, it's very humbling in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for all that you're doing out there in Nevada, with your brand and with everything that you're pushing forward. It's amazing, and we're just really thrilled to have you here today.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
All right, here's a fun question for you, Larry.
Okay.
If you could sit down and have a sesh with anybody that you wanted to, alive or dead, who would you like to sit down with?
John F. Kennedy. I like to sit down with Kennedy and see. I like to pick his brain a little bit. I thought he was pretty dope human being, kind of a wild boy on the side too from the stories. But Kennedy would be one that I would really want to sit down with, because I felt like he was moving in a direction with some things in the government that I felt like probably got him assassinated, and I would love to have seen what it would have been like. So have a nice. I've smoked with Wiz. I've smoked with Snoop. Wiz was probably the funnest, because Wiz was trying to really smoke me all the way out. Like he was pretty intense about what he was doing. Like he was purposeful. He was very, I mean, there was probably about four of us, me, Dame Dash, him, and man, Dame tapped out and everyone kept tapping out. I'm not tapping out. I know what you're doing, but he was pretty good, man. He was pretty good. I liked Wiz. That was my funnest.
Larry, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Can you say more about what, if anything, excites you about the Nevada market? I had heard that they were going to open up consumption lounges at a certain point, but they decided to delay that. Do you know when that's happening, or just other things about the market you think might be exciting?
Well, I know Tina over at OPAL, her and Aisha and all these guys are trying to get the regulations taken care of. Listen, Vegas is very unique. Obviously, we depend on tourism. And with the pandemic, we thought things were going to slow down, but they actually picked up for us. There are people that are still coming to Vegas, and they're still buying, and it's been pretty awesome. I guess there's a lot of talk about like who should get these licenses when they do come out for consumption lounges. A lot of the dispensary owners are kind of like saying, hey, hold on a second here. You got to come and they have to go through us, and in that way, and it's like, hey, hold on a second, here you guys go again. You're kind of being the top dogs and you want it all for you. And listen, this is a market that a lot of people should be able to come in and make money on, as far as, what's going on in the world, as far as the Black and brown people not being able to get in those dispensaries. I mean, give them the opportunity to get consumption lounges and make some kind of money. But I do see both sides. I hope it does go through, because the casinos will tell you, this is the thing about Vegas. The casinos will get in front of everyone and go, we don't want it in our hotels. And that's just saying that because they're federally funded and they have federal guidelines they have to go by. But deep down inside, I have a really good friend, I would say, he's not no longer Caesar, so he's good, he's up the hook. But he told me flat out, we love cannabis. And he goes, the reason why, Larry, is that the people stay at the hotel. They don't go off property. Normally when they smoke, they stay on the hotel, they eat, right? They gamble in the hotel, they don't leave, right? And the bad part for the consumer is when they do catch them, they fine them $250, $500. So I know Caesars Entertainment at some point was making almost $18,000 to $25,000 a day between all of their properties from just fining people for cannabis, right? So imagine that going to your bottom line every day. It's extra money, right? I mean, so they'll say that they don't want it, but I guarantee you, as soon as the rubber hits the road and they take it off the federal level, you'll see these hotels have their own smoke lounges in the hotels and go, and they're going to find a way to capitalize off of it. And that's the hypocritical part for me that I don't like about what kind of goes on. But I understand they have to protect certain things. But I'm looking forward to getting the lounges. I hope there's a safe way for us to do it, and for people to be protected in those places when they do get them. But it's coming. They're in session right now, I believe, and they're working on all the rules and regulations. So it's coming.
Nice.
Thank you. Larry, I had a question. Thank you, Larry and Calvin. Great job and great stories, man. I know when a couple of people get drunk, they get in a fight, but a couple of people smoke out, they end up starting a band.
I'm still in that, man. I'm still in that.
I started from somewhere, so thank you. With that, I have a two-part question if I can get to it. But first is around social equity. What does social equity look like to you as far as someone that obviously has been in the industry and had to do it yourself? How do we balance, or what does the ideal program or resource look for from the government?
Okay, so for me, I mean, this is going to sound harsh, but Black and brown people don't trust each other, and it's a horrible thing. And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's designed, but it has been designed. I mean, when you break it down, what we need to do is come together. And there are a lot of people that do have money that may not have So here's what they did to us in Vegas, and this is the way I read it. When I first read it, it said you must have $250,000, excuse me, in your account. So I'm thinking, well, you don't. I think to my partner, you don't have that much in your account, and then he goes, "What you do?" And so it confused me because I'm going, well, hold on a second. So when I really broke it down to my wife, she came in and she's like, hey, hold on a second here. Both of you dummies, let me tell you, the entity, the group that needs to have it needs to have 250. So when I say that, what I mean is if that you have a group of 10, 15, 20 people that can put together that money, put your differences aside, stop with the bickering and who's going to be this and that and work together, then I think that we have an obligation to come back later and say, hey, let's put that money together. And we fit all the rest of the qualifications now. And that's really how a lot of African Americans and brown people, Hispanics were eliminated out of the first round. When I went to these meetings and saw these groups of people, attorneys that I knew, some of them owed me money from my lien company. I'm going, how did he get in? Well, I didn't have to have $250, Larry. I had $50,000, so I put that in. And so I'm laughing, going, okay, I got it. So what Black and brown people need to do is we have to kind of help ourselves as well. And we have to put these groups together and put our money together and start filling out the applications and going through it and stop depending on the governments to help us all the time. Listen, man, put it together. I have friends who, one guy may have 30,000, the other guy may have 100,000, the other guy may have 20,000. By the time I get going around the room, these guys have money. We act like we don't have, we do. And if we don't, we need to start saving our money and start spending our money on the BS, the Gucci and all those things that don't appreciate us anyway, right? And I think when I'll give an example. I said this before in an interview and some guys out of Chicago, Illinois hit me up and we ended up helping them getting a license, and they just got approved their license. So they pooled their money together, and they're going to have a license in Illinois. And I'm so glad I said that because a lot of people sometimes it'll go over their head and they'll think that I'm not being realistic, but I am being realistic. We have money in our community. We have to really put it together and like guys like me who look up in the future and I'm going to come and say, hey, listen, I want to start going in Atlanta or the next place. Hey, if you guys want to join me, let's put this money together and go in. So it's just not all me, right? I understand the struggle of building the business, but listen, if you had $10,000 and I opened it up and said, hey, I'm going to start this company, I'm going to give you 200 shares of it because you're putting 10,000 in Calvin comes in and says, I got 100,000. Well, now he gets X amount of shares. And then we pull that money together. We can make a lot of things happen, man. And I just think that I didn't look for any social equity. I feel like they always move the needle, man. As soon as you put it there, they move the needle somewhere else. And when I put in my application, I dared them not to give me a license because I knew I had all the credentials and I knew that I was going to fight for it. I'm going to fight for it. And I just think that more people, we got to stick together, man. If we stick together, man, we can do a lot. And it's just about trusting one another. And I know that's hard because some people, the mindset doesn't think, but once you get that core group that you can find, I think it's very, very important that we stick together and build our money together.
Yeah, on that note, you hit it right in the head on the nail, man. It's all about unity and putting our differences, right? Especially coming from our own cultural background where we are distrusting of others and rightfully so. Yeah. So with that, just segue, last question is the culture you mentioned. To me, I have an organizing event license here in California, so I'm all about understanding just, us coming together, music, vibing out, and how all that can help all what we're talking about. So just, any thoughts on the cannabis culture and how, the future may look to kind of the events and how we can all make this work?
Well, listen, if you're doing those type of things, I think that's awesome. I mean, everyone thinks that, it's the dispensary and cultivators, but man, it's everyone. You guys are all a part of this, man. You're throwing events and you're bringing people together, and you don't know, Tupac said that he was going to spark the brain to change the world. And to me, when you're throwing events like that, you don't know who comes in those parties. And I can't tell you how many parties I've gone to or events that I've gone to and met someone like yourself. And and I met Calvin, and you're like, yo, that dude was dope. And then you figure out, all right, cool. Listen, how can we make this work, and how can we go and make it better? And I mean, what you're doing is, I mean, it's pretty dope, and that is the culture, man. The culture, I definitely see the shift in culture, and they're not demonizing marijuana or cannabis. I don't like to use, I like to say cannabis. I tell all my friends, if you get pulled over, you don't have marijuana weed, you have cannabis in the car. So much more, but it's definitely changing the culture, and people are starting to really realize that it's not this demonizing thing, and the culture is what it is, man. I don't know people who, like you said, I see people get together and they make music, man. I don't see them fighting and arguing, and I'm just, it is what it is. So I think you're doing a great job, man, if you're bringing people together, and I think that's going to be the future, the concerts. And like I said, for me, and I don't mind telling people, I was like, we want to do things in the future for GFive. We want to have our Tuesday night tokes and jokes, right? I mean, we want to bring people together, and that's what the culture is smoking, having a good time. We all know on this panel and sitting in this room that there's enough fucking misery in the world right now that we could all use a nice laugh and a good vibe to bring the world, a better place,
Man. Well, thank you. I'm gonna
Yes,
have to fill
indeed.
you up for a separate show, man. We need a show just on you and on this conversation. So
Right
thank you.
on. And
You
the
gotta
music
come
is
back,
dope.
Larry. Larry, you gotta come back.
Yeah. And the music is dope, man. Like listen, man, the music is dope. What I noticed, like Tina and Aisha are doing for the NORML in Vegas, and Aisha has her own organization out here. But the laws definitely need to be changed. There's a lot of laws that definitely need to be changed, and it's pretty bad. But man, it's people like you guys that are bringing that forward, man, and people are paying attention, and these people vote. I can't tell you how many smokers I know that. I always ask, you smoke? Yeah. Do you vote? Yeah. Okay. Then we need to make sure we let these guys that don't like to smoke know that, this is what it is, man. No one's, I'm not speeding when I'm in my car when I'm high. I don't know what it is about my foot, but it automatically gets stuck on 65 when I smoke and I'm on the freeway. There's, you know what I mean? So it's like, you guys are making a good push, man. And like I said earlier, I really mean from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all of you guys working, and you guys are the culture. Like when I see, look at the diversity here, man. I mean, come on, man. It's a good diverse group of gentlemen on this that I can see on my screen, and that's fucking dope, to be honest with you. I mean, it's dope, man. You guys don't know that we are the culture, and thank you guys for repping the culture
Aye.
the way you do.
Cannabis is really the great unifier, right? I mean, several people have mentioned it here. It's people get together and work on common goals and have respect for each other. Passing around a doobie. It's always been like that. Always been like that.
Absolutely. Great icebreakers, right?
Great.
Absolutely.
The peace pipe.
Right. Peacemaker too, right? Absolutely.
100%.
Does anybody have any other questions here for Larry?
I do. Hey, Larry,
Yeah.
what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, brother?
Appreciate what you're doing, bro. I'm really loving your vibe, man. It's you can tell you're really passionate about it. You're out there. You're talking about it's a medicine. It's not, it's not really. I mean, it's a spiritual medicine, a sacred medicine that we all have access to, and we all should have access to, and that's great. That should be the tip of the iceberg, leading the charge.
Right.
I love that you're pushing that message forward, and so do we here at NORML. So I got a quick question for you. I mean, so you're an entrepreneur, you're in the game. Obviously, everyone sees all the glitz and glamour, like, oh, it's so, you're in cannabis. It's all, it's all fun and games or whatever, but really it's not. So what's like a piece of advice that you would give someone that's thinking about getting in the game? Just like one thing, that really keep on their mind, like what they need to do to be successful in this business, and really any business. At the end of the day, this is just like any other business, but like, what's a piece of advice you would give someone that's looking to get in the game?
If you're getting in this business for the money, you don't do it. It ain't where you want to go, right? And I got into it. I didn't know as much as I got into it 5 years ago, and I definitely was a businessman. I knew how to smoke weed. I knew how to go get the weed from my guy at the corner, right? But And I knew he wasn't growing it. I know he got it from somewhere else, right? And you know, it's one of those things that this plant will truly humble you in all levels. And it's a plant, and it's not meant. I mean, obviously we're making money off of it, but man, you got to have a real passion for this. You got to have a real love. So there's two real. I didn't mention these other two reasons, but so two things happened in my life. One was when I was younger, 16 years old. My grandmother died of cancer really quick. Boom. I was young, didn't know any better. You know, you're young. I don't know about cancer. I'm 16 years old. It's 1988. You know, you're young. So, and then the last one was 7 years ago, a very good friend of mine, very one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life, an attorney, very good friend. He overdosed on the pills. And I would beg him. Listen, this guy was the smartest guy I've ever met in my life. This guy would put him up against any hustler. Steve Weiss was his name. May rest in peace. And I would beg him, and he had a car accident. And what happened was he started taking the pills. And that was at the end of the day, that was the driving factor of me saying, man, it can't go down this way. Like when I said that people were coming to me saying, or I would go talk to medical patients. I met a cancer patient in San Jose, and she was like, the government sends me this weed, she called it, and she would be like, yo, it's dry, it's bad, it's messed up. And then she was like, I come over, I get fresh cannabis, and then I do it. And she's like, really, it's made a projection, it's helped me in my life. And she ended up beating cancer, like she ended up beating it, right? Solely happy for her, right? So to me, it was like, all right, hold on a second, we can do something really, really good right here. And it's just one of those things, man, like if you're getting in for the money, man, you better really, really think, because this thing will drain your money really, really fast. And it is medicine. I get in trouble all the time. I got in trouble by a commissioner because I went on a show and I said that it's not a recreational weed. She's like, no, it is. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, you guys put that on there because you want to make the money for it. It doesn't matter. I mean, it should be taxed in the state of I wish it was taxed everywhere, but it should be taxed at a 2% tax everywhere, not 15 and 18% and all these people money grabbing. To me, they have to understand that that's the tough part for me. That's the really hard part for me.
Yeah, the general public's trying to, I mean, not general public, but the lawmakers are trying to say it's like alcohol, right? Well, really, that's the wrong way to go unless you're trying to make money, like you said, with the taxes, right? I mean, really, it should be a medicine.
Well, I don't know anybody that's ever, I personally don't know anyone that's ever overdosed from cannabis or dabbing. I've seen people get really high on dabs, but I've never seen anyone. I've seen a guy slump into a couch and sleep for like 5 or 6 hours straight and feel good, right? And wake up and go, hey, that was good, right? But I've never seen, I've seen guys drunk and no one in the car and run right into a pole, right? And you're like, wait, hold on a second here, right? So it's like, I just think they have it backwards. And obviously we understand that how it's a money thing, but I think it should be 2% and not, listen, to make it fair, what I would do is for my argument, listen, if whatever money that if in Vegas, if they told me that, hey, it's 18% right now and the other 16%, you don't get that, let me take it and give it to charity. I won't even take the money. I'll give it to any charity that you want me to. Just don't take it to the states and the thing, you know, let's give it to the people. Let's give it to programs. Let's give it to addiction programs for people who are on heroin or those type of really addictive drugs. I mean, I just think that it's medicine, and if a Loratab and a Percocet and all these things can kill you, literally, there's a pandemic going on about that, then they should make that 18% and make it more harder for people to get and make the cannabis a little bit more easier for our people to get. And anybody that disagrees with that, they are a numbnuts, period. Right? Yeah, I don't care what anyone says on that. They can fight me all they want. The research backs up what we're saying, you know?
So we need more people that make the laws that smoke the weed. You know what I mean? People that are
right,
actually
exactly. Well, and I think that's what
that'll happen gradually. I think.
Yeah, I think that's what you guys are doing. I think that's what organizations like yourself are getting into, and we just got to hope that these big cannabis firms that are coming in, the big money corporations are coming in. I'm not a big corporation. I'm a mom and pop, and you know, I hope that we can pass this down to my kids, and our kids, and the people that are in my organization can pass it down. And I will always have that model that this is medicine. I don't care what they say. When we have to go and metric and tag it as, that is one of the most frustrating things in the world, to tag it as a recreational instead of just medical. It's really irritating.
That's great, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely medicine. You know, even people that drink a glass of red wine at night, like, you know, just because it's alcohol, it has therapeutic effects. People relax, chill out, sit down. You have that one glass of wine. Sorry, I'm homeschooling here. Have that one glass of wine. Give me just a minute. Okay. So, sorry, it's my 4-year-old. You know, but it relaxes you, and there's therapeutic value to that, right? So, you know, whatever you want to call it, it brings people peace and calmness and some relaxation into their life. That's beneficial. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know, but like in Vegas, like what I'll do a lot of times is I'll go to the dispensaries and sit in the lobbies and kind of chill out, and I just kind of look and see who's buying the product. And you know, there's a definite change. There's a lot of 55 and older that are going into these dispensaries that are really partaking. And you know, there's a big misconception that these young kids are the ones that are doing all of this. And listen, there's a lot of people that need the creams for relief, the tinctures. I mean, it's getting so advanced that you know, it's a pretty big market. And I think, like I said, that the tide is changing. We need to change some of the laws and the taxes. And you know, we're gonna get hit with another federal tax here pretty soon once they make it federally illegal, and that's gonna really hurt. And that's gonna, to me, I think that's gonna derive and make the big companies, you know, come in and take over, and it's gonna hurt the little guys like me. When you have that. But hopefully we can hang in there and keep fighting and keep building and keep going.
That's what we're doing, man. That's what NORML is all about, the people, man. That's what we're trying to, you know, really fighting for the people. That's why we're still, everyone's like, oh, it's legal now. What do they need NORML for? Well, to fight the corporations, to fight, fight for the small businesses, you know what I mean? The consumers. So yeah.
Absolutely. 100%, man. 100%. You guys keep doing your thing. Like I said, man, you guys are much needed. I think the more education people get, they'll understand what's going on. But that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Stephanie, did you have a question for Larry? I know you had maybe a Cameron question, anything, the brand?
I think you touched upon it. You know, from the get, you asked about, you know, what was it like working with him and what sparked that. So I'm a big Cameron fan. So I'd love to try his line one day and make it out there to one of your events, Larry. It sounds awesome. So hopefully I can get that.
Or we can collab over here too. You know, we can do something with us too. So.
Absolutely. Cam is a very laid back. I mean, he's very I don't know if you guys watched the show Larry David, the one Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Cam is the black Larry David. Just imagine that guy.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing to know. Thank you.
Cam's that guy, a black version of that guy.
That's a good description. Plus, he loves that show too.
Yeah,
that's hilarious, man.
Like Cam is that guy. Cam is funny. Like Cam will talk to you about things that you would never think. Because he's not a rapper to me. Like I don't know Cameron the rapper that way. I know he's a rapper, and I've been to 100 shows and you know been on the stage and rocked out with him. But like he's really the black Larry David to me. Like he's funny, he's creative, and you have to really, the wordplay with him is incredible. I've never seen anything the way he hustles. That guy can sell ice to Eskimo for sure. I mean, he's that good. I mean, but he's a good, more importantly, like he's a very good family man. He's a great father. I like to tell these parts about him. He's a great father. And very aware of his son and family, and just a great human being, man. Like I wish people, you know, I wish he would open up sometimes more to the world to see, you know, what Cameron is like. And I know it's tough for me because I get to see it and they don't. And sometimes people can be obnoxious with him. He's a great guy, and he's very observant, and he sees a lot that goes on. So it would be dope to do something with you guys. And Cam's, he's just an honorable guy, man. He's a very straightforward. He was very patient with me in developing Pink Mink because, you know, I wanted to make sure we didn't become rapper weed. I wanted to make sure we went out and got the right strains. And I started learning that, hey, the genetics are pretty much everything. Like, I mean, there are 60% of what goes on in everything. So, you know, I went to him a couple of times, like, man, I don't have it yet. And he was like, okay, you know, don't worry about it. Let's take our time. So it literally took us about 2.5 years, 3 years for us to come up with the pink mink strain. And then we just came out with the 2.0, the Mai Tai version of it. And so he's listen, he came to Vegas, he got his agent card, he can come in, he can touch plants, he comes in, he clones his own clones, he comes in, he hangs them on the dry cure. Like, he's a part of the process.
He puts in the work. That's amazing. I love how he has his card.
Yeah, so he, like, if you look on his page, he literally went and got his own agent card. He's a real businessman, and you know, he just didn't want to be a rapper. He's not a rapper, and that's what I think you'll see over the next couple of years. You'll start to see that the business side of him. You'll see him in there cloning. Like, that was hilarious to me. I'm like, what's Cam doing? He's like, he's cloning. I mean, literally cloning. Like, I'm like, you're really cloning, you know? Like, he wanted to know the process. He understood that it's not easy, and that's what I respected. Because he could have went somewhere else and went with a bigger company, and he hung in there with me, and I appreciate that a lot. He'll always be family to me for that. You know, a lot of people will go and chase the money, and he's like, I'm okay with the money, and he understands. By him having IBS, he does understand the need for that, for the cannabis, for you know, the medical side of it. He truly does believe in that side. You see Cam, it's not just getting high with him. Like, it's really helping him. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's different for him.
Right.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you sharing that, Larry, because that's so true. A lot of times I don't think people really know that.
Yeah.
Physical ailments are a big part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And Ian and the team, I'm glad y'all started a compassion care. Like, that's going to be big, because that's what we all, you know, with the crowd I'm in, we're into that. You know, I told you my friend just died of cancer January 4th. And Stephanie, I'm going to get you a hat or a shirt or something today, because you said you're a big fan. I'm going to find you.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We have to do a collaboration sometime. We'll make it out there post-COVID.
Well, I live in LA, so I'll bring you here.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Calvin.
Absolutely.
Have any other questions for Larry today? Well, I'd love to give a big shout out to Hirsch, Lewis, and Calvin for preparing this valuable educational content for us today. And I'd like to give a huge thank you to Larry Smith from GFive Cultivation. Larry, thank you so much for your support of Los Angeles NORML. We are truly, truly honored by your presence here today. Just can't thank you enough. And we have thoroughly enjoyed hearing about your company, your mission, and about the good work that you're doing in the community. And we would genuinely love to have you back anytime. You're always welcome.
Thank you guys so much again. Thank you guys so much for supporting and showing love. I really appreciate it, man. And enjoy that 4-year-old. Trust me, they grow up pretty fast.
I know it goes fast. And I'd also like to thank everyone in our audience today for coming out to support Los Angeles NORML. And very importantly, I would like to remind you that we are a nonprofit, all volunteer organization. So that's important to remember. And we would really appreciate any financial support that you're able to provide. Please do consider becoming a dues paying member of Los Angeles NORML at only $4.20 per month to support the work that we're doing. And if you own a business, we would be honored to have you listed as a mission partner on our website, and we would promote you within the community at events like this and beyond. So details for that are available on our website. Please do come visit us at www.lanorml.org. And from everyone here at Los Angeles NORML, we'd like to send a big thank you for being here today. Peace and love to you all. Thank you so much.